And as
Definitely.
someone, and this is a credible conversation, by the way, ladies, but as someone, my content does talk about often the way that black women air out their grievances. I do appreciate that it is time to air out grievances, as you all are saying. However, I'm someone who complains about the way in which they air out their grievances. So that goes to our next question here. What is the proper way to offer correction to a black woman? And if you don't mind giving a public example of someone who you believe that does it the right way. On this one, we will start with Kendall.
I'll use my husband as an example because I've been a single mom since I was 17, so I'm very independent. I've always been very independent. I've been on my own since I was 19 years old. My husband, I've been married, divorced. I experienced domestic violence. I come from a home where there was domestic violence and all those things. So I have been in survival mode since I was 5 years old. Okay. Witnessing my father be domestically violent with my mom. And you imagine you're growing up, then you get into a relationship at some point and you experience domestic violence as well. There's a wall that was built up with me. And I was so accustomed to fighting to protect myself because there was no one to protect me. Having this man come in my life and be now that protector, and me not having to be fight or flight or in survival mode all the time. But I had to learn how, when we have disagreements, we weren't in a war, which is what I was accustomed to all the time. So my war consisted of going real low because that's how I had to fight with my ex-husband. And my husband had to sit down and have a conversation and say, we're not at war. We're not enemies. I'm your partner. I'm your lover. I'm your best friend. I'm your husband. We don't have to have disagreements in this way. And that's how he checked me. But it was the way that he did it. He didn't get on social media bashing me as a black woman. He didn't say, "Oh, you got a bad attitude," because I still always been respectful. But in those times of disagreement, I felt like I had to be defensive versus hearing and listening to what he was saying when he was listening, but I wasn't accustomed to that.
Mhm.
So there's a way to sit down and have conversations with black women, but getting on social media bashing black women, that is not the answer. Do some black women have horrible attitudes? Absolutely. Do some black women communicate in the worst way? Absolutely, but we're not the only ones. Although I know this conversation is centered around our black women right now, we're not the only ones, and that goes negated because everybody's so focused on what black women are doing. You're not looking at what other cultures are, and they're just as bad as we are. But all of the focus is always on black women. Our passion becomes an attitude, our communication becomes an attitude, our quick wit is an attitude. All of these things, we are demonized for being black women, and in the way that we have conversations and communicate. We're having a very thoughtful conversation right now. Mel, you and I had a very thoughtful conversation. I don't agree with everything you say about black women, but sometimes you are right. And sometimes we have to also acknowledge that. So I think the way you have conversations with black women, give us that softness that you want to see from us, and we'll respond in kind. It'll kind of diffuse us a little bit, right?
That's a lot of us. That's not all of us, Kim and I. So I'm
Well,
just
I
gonna
made
say
that
that.
clear. I made
Oh
that very
yeah.
clear. So yeah, you have to just. There's a way. I feel like we can all have conversations that are respectful of one another. But it's exhausting when I get on social media and our black brothers are tearing black women down.
It's disheartening. It's hurtful.
Very,
It is. It is. It is. It
very.
is
Because we
we
devastating.
go hard. We go
we
hard for y'all.
So
when we
let's say,
speak
go ahead,
when
Miss
I
Smith.
speak to men, I've been speaking to them a lot about their heart posture. You can't say that you love black women and then making all these demands on them. And then you as a man, you have to be what you're requiring. And I think a lot of times we are approached by people that don't have the right heart posture towards us. Now, another thing I specifically wanted to address is don't be rebuking no black woman publicly. I love to have private conversations with people. If you have an issue with me, and this I deal with people. If I have an issue with a person, I go to them. I respect. I have enough of respect for you that I would come to you in private and speak to you about whatever. Now that's a thing for me. Now you got some issue with me, come to me and talk to me first. Don't be blasting me in public. They come let us what reason together. And I think a lot of times I keep telling our brothers, a lot of these problems that y'all have them too. I'm gonna say this. A lot of these issues that I may have with them, it's don't start with us, it start with their mama. I'm just put that out there. Put it on out there. Starts with the person that gave birth to you. And you are not, I've often told men, if you got a problem with me, go sit down and write your mama a letter. Have a conversation with her because your problem is not with us. It starts with her. Because that's the first person to teach you what love is, first person to teach you what love is not. So I think black women can be corrected, but they have to be, it's the approach. Now I'm going to say something. Now I notice a certain age group, I say under 30. Now the issue I have, I'm just saying this. They don't respond to love and correction at all. I'm a retired teacher. They don't respond to it is. It's the disrespect sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you this, and I have to preface it and say, look, sister, I love you, but you out of order. And I understand that you giving it out, you're gonna get it back. But a lot of times we trying to correct young, and I'm gonna say what the Killen said. A lot of our young women have been raised up, they haven't been groomed in correction. My parents were very strict with correction. My mother was strict, my dad. So I'm used to the sound of correction. I respond to it. But the fact that you have some women that have not grown up with that, there goes that grace. There goes that love. And I just want to say, ladies, a lot of times I don't think our men know how to correct us in love. People around us, a black woman she's a sensitive creature. She's sensitive. And I think there's a way to correct anybody. You can't correct her like she's a child because she's not finna respond to that. It has to be from a posture of true love, concern, and humanity. That's what I want to add to the conversation.
Nice. All right.
To backdoor that, I definitely agree that it starts like Kendall said. I came from a domestic violence relationship, and I knew when I got into this relationship that I was getting into a relationship with a hurt person. And I assumed that I had enough love to correct this person or to fix this person or to make that hole in their life better. And that wasn't for me to fix, nor could I do that. And you're right, it stemmed from his mother. And as black men, you seem to kind of want the black woman to replace your mother or to fix that, but yet you want to be a man all in the same. I feel as if it starts with hurt children become hurt adults, or they start out with children and it starts with us and how we raise them. And ultimately they become this adult that doesn't know how to love, doesn't know how to care, doesn't know how to lead a household. I was raised by my grandmother. It's not any grandmothers or older people to instill what we used to have. Anybody in the neighborhood could come bring you home and whoop you or give you that criticism, and it wouldn't be a problem. Now we have this where don't say anything to my kids. It's no form of
community
care, or like you said, I just feel that with the black woman, the approach to us has to be respectful, in an emotional, intelligent way, cultural awareness. Like the black woman has always been publicly harsh. We're always the butt of the content. Like we're the root of the racism and the misogyny. Always.
Absolutely.
It's so the feedback is always delivered in the ways that are the most harsh to us. It's never in the ways that, oh, we see this positive, but this is this. It's always leading with the negative. And we have, like you say, so many more strengths. Like my example, like I like the fact that Monique brought to attention that carry yourself in the way that you want to be treated. Like if you're running around here with your butt out, then what kind of man do you expect to get? If you, I feel that it was one of those things, leave it to the imagination, that I was raised on. So I just feel that we as Black women, we need that respect. We need a relationship. We need resilience. Definitely, we have to learn how to empower each other. And like you said, take that criticism, not in a negative way, but in a way that, hey, we love you. But like Mel said on one of his things, I think the internet and hiding behind these computers and is allowing people to have this courage, or allowing people to be this way. And it's not fair. I don't think a lot of face-to-face encounters back in the day didn't happen like it's happening with the social media and the allowance of people to be bullies or mean. And not at one point in time would you really say this standing 10 toes down at this person.
Ever.
No. She
Hold on,
no.
Miss Smith. Hold on one second. All right, we're gonna come back around. All right, Lisa.
Well, I do want to respond to that, because I do think we are harshly criticized in public, right? But you'll go home and love your wife. You'll big up somebody privately, but in public, you know, we have these public forums where we just want to talk negatively about Black women for whatever reason. And like you said, a lot of times you're not gonna stand on that same thing if you in that person's face. The other thing I want to say, I got to push back a little bit on the young people too, because I have the privilege of working with some very dynamic young women. And I think possibly a little bit we dropped the ball in some of the ways, and some of the things that we experience, because we haven't wanted them to experience that same kind of harshness, and we wanted to give them a little bit more freedom and voice. Perhaps we've dropped the ball on some of the things that we've pushed on them. But I gotta say, I work with some very, very dynamic 20s. I can say from 20 up to 29, the whole gamut. And they doing the thing. They are doing.
They're doing it, but they are disrespectful. So I
They
will.
are.
I will definitely touch on that with Mrs. Met 04. But at the same time, Lisa, I totally agree with you, because we tried to parent differently from our parents. Of course, I'm Gen X. We allowed so much freedom. And then not only that, we wanted to become friends with our children instead of parenting them, right? And I think that's a lot of it. So now, and you not only that, now you have social media also telling them their parents are bullies. Right. And then also, when we were parenting, right, they're equating parenting to bullying. But also I wanted to talk on the part where beautiful Nana said we have to empower one another as Black women. The problem is we look at each other as competition. That's why we won't empower one another. I come into spaces and immediately women act a certain way with me because I carry myself in a certain way. They don't get to know me. They immediately shut down or get this negative energy, and I match energy. So I'm not going to try to build on anything if I come into a space and I don't feel welcome, right? And I think until we stop trying to compete one another or looking at one another as competition all the time and remove some of the jealousy, we're never going to come together as women and empower, as Black women, and empower one another.
Because that's not our nature, right? That's not really true to us. That comes out of white supremacy and capitalism.
But let me ask this question. Let me ask y'all ladies this question.
And I still want to answer, Mel.
I want
to ask Kendall, since y'all talking about this competition. Now we know that comes from childhood.
No, it comes from white supremacy.
No, but I'm not saying it doesn't come from white. I'm not saying what I'm saying, and it shows up first in our families. That's all I'm saying. It shows up first when we're little girls. It shows up first when we go to school. It shows up first when we go to church. We interact with our cousins. I can remember when I was a kid, girls had a problem with me because I had long hair. This was before we had weave. And it was a matter of, I'm thinking I'm better. And I noticed it even carried over in my family. And I want to know that the question is, what can we do to stop that? Because we really can't come to harmony with as sisters until we combat the underlying of the competition and the jealousy.
We have to start to look at the fact that this is a systemic thing. That's not about us. That's not how we operate, right? We live in community. That's why a lot of times it's hard for us to try to be individualistic. We live in community. We thrive in community. That's how we are. That's who we are. But we live in a society that is shaped around this individualistic. It's not enough for everybody. Look at the bill, the big beautiful bill that just passed, right?
Yeah,
because it's not enough. It's like this. It's not enough. When we know we live in a space there's enough for everybody. And we have to live, we have to continue to be true to who we are and not buy into those ideologies and those systems.
Because the scripture tells us, envy not the ways of our oppressor. But what I'm saying, a lot of that stuff we picked up. That's the only point I'm making. We picked up a lot of that stuff.
We just have to start. We have to be mindful. We have to start to do the work to unravel those things. And when it comes to correcting a Black woman, to me, I think correction without context, without care, without cultural understanding is just another form of control and humiliation. We've been humiliated enough.
Yes.
And if we don't have those things in place, that's all that becomes. Correction comes through relationship, right? Relationship, like Kendall was just saying with her husband. There's a relationship there. There's a reciprocity there. We understand each other. We're not enemies on this thing. If I'm coming to you and I'm saying something to you, I'm saying it because I want you to be better, because I want us to be better. There's a level of respect there. And when that respect is out, when that respect is gone, there is no correction, right?
Yeah.
You can't, how you gonna correct somebody you don't have no respect for? At least you show, or it looks like, it appears even, that you don't have respect for that person. You can't correct me. You don't have no relationship with me. I worked in behavioral health, in working with people with autism, working with people with special needs. You don't have a relationship with that person. You can't go up to that person and tell them, hey, don't do that. Hey, there has to be a relationship.
Yeah.
That's true. I used to tell my parents when I would meet with them about their kids, I said, listen, rules without relationship will always lead to rebellion. You have no relationship with your child, just barking rules at them. There's no relationship. So they're going to rebel. So I agree with everything that she said, everything that she's saying.
And it goes back to what you said in terms of honoring our humanity. A lot of times, Black men and Black women, this is a conversation about Black women, we've been dehumanized. It's very easy for other people outside to dehumanize us, right? If you can make somebody think that, oh, because they don't have the proper diction, they walk with their pants down, they don't have a haircut, that means that they can be treated like an animal. Then it's very easy to not give them the things that they deserve and the things that they need. It's very easy to disrespect them and to talk bad about them. But if we can talk to each other and bring ourselves to a point of humanity, that changes the game a lot.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on something real quick, Mel, and I know you're ready to move to the next question. Beautifully Nana mentioned how Black men are mad with their moms. I want to elaborate that. I think Black men are mad with the dads that left them, and they're taking it out on the moms. And I think and I think the moms are overcompensating by trying to fix things that we didn't break. And then by doing so, we're enabling, we're overloving, we're coddling, we're smothering, we're too codependent. And I think that's also playing a part in as to why so many Black men are angry with their mothers. Some of it is not even towards us. We're just getting the brunt of it. They're really angry with the fathers that have abandoned them in some way, but they're not even thinking that not only were they abandoned, but that mother was abandoned and left to take on the responsibility of two people. So I just wanted to kind of touch on.
And let me say this too. Before she stopped, a lot of times your children don't understand that you are a person. You're a person. You're a parent, but you're a person, and that you gonna make mistakes. They have you sometime on this thing where they're saying, "Well, you my mama," da da da. Like she said, sometimes we don't even get grace from our children. And the father sometimes, it's like, okay, there's not shared responsibility, like she's saying. my grandmother always told me, she said, men are forgiven. That is something that she told me. The world forgives men easily, but women, she said, I don't know what it is, but it's going to always be held against you. She said, that's just how society. She said, I don't know if it's going to be like that when you become, and that was when I was a teenager, but nothing much has changed. But she's always telling me that the world is forgiving towards men. That's just I guess it's what the patriarchy we live in, but it's not so forgiving toward us. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Briefly, Nana, you were saying something. You have something?
Oh, no.
Okay. So, ladies, amazing, and spirited conversation. But I had a couple pushbacks, but I'm just gonna do one in the interest of time. So, are we leaving this portion of the conversation, saying that there's no such thing as public criticism for Black women? I asked that because of this. You mentioned that you only can say it if you have a relationship. You said no open rebukes. Pull someone to the side first.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at people who have done it the right way, I'm asking who can correct a Black woman publicly or individually, because you look at Shahrazad Ali back in the 80s, she went on Donahue and Oprah or any platform that she could and tried to offer correction towards Black women. She's actually still doing it today, and she was called everything but a child of God and almost hung. But as recent as today, you have Felicia Rashad, who
I'll use that example. Go
earlier this
ahead.
year went forward and just said simply, put clothes on. And this legendary queen was exiled basically by Black women. So I just want to know, are we leaving this portion of the conversation saying that Black women can't receive any public correction? Because I sit on here with women who have powerful voices, and am I going to not see any public correction for anyone
Certain demographic.
on your platform?
But I also think that Felicia Rashad was not, I don't think she was exiled. I think it was what she was saying was coming from still a different kind of place. Like, just because you wear different clothes, we are sitting here saying we're having a conversation. We're not being more respected because we wear different clothes, because we speak a certain way, because you went to a certain school, because your hair is a certain. You are being disrespected because of the color of your skin and who you are. That changing your clothes, that we can't say that there shouldn't be standards and things like that. She's speaking to that. I don't think she's exiled for that, but I also think it doesn't speak to the deeper issue that gets us disrespect. We have sat up, we have gotten the education, we've gotten 2 master's degrees, we've gotten certification, we've gotten all the things, and we still have disrespect. So it's not about her the clothes. I just think her comment was short. And Shahrazad Ali, please. I mean, if y'all still agree with her and the things that she's saying, I don't. And I ain't for it. That type of oppression.
I agree with some of her points that some women do have arrested development, and I think that stems from trauma. I do agree with that. I don't know if y'all understand. Sometimes you deal with Black women, it's like, okay, so we're not communicating in the same frequency, language, and there's a delay. And I want to speak to this. There's a certain let me say this. There's a certain demographic of Black women that cannot be corrected. Certain demographic. I'm not going to go into. Okay, so let me just say this. You know that group that when Monique told them not to put by the bonnets. Let's go there. Okay, I wrote a note of that. There was nothing wrong with what Monique said about the bonnets.
I agree.
There's nothing wrong with it, but like I said, it's a certain demographic. Us ladies may not be that demographic because I don't go outside looking like that. I come from a Generation X. We didn't go outside our house looking like that. My grandmother, you go outside, you represent me. You better make sure you dress appropriately because you represent me. So to what she's saying is we have to understand that there's a certain demographic of women who have not been raised in a village of tribe of women who have taught them grooming, just basic grooming. So they respond to what Mel's point. And from what I'm noticing, the younger they are, the more is pushback. It's the younger group. Now I'm not saying all young people, let's just say this, but I noticed the younger they're getting, the less they respond to people helping them. helping them.
They're
Because
responding less to the dominance of the patriarchy, is what they're.
okay, but I'm not the patriarch. I'm saying.
I mean, we got it, but we got to speak to
Hold
that.
on,
And
hold
this
on,
is
hold
why
on.
this is why sometimes it can
But
seem.
I'm just making this point now.
Okay, sorry.
There were times I would speak to my female students, especially my black students. I pull them and say, what you got on? What you got on? And then sometimes, you know what? They would tell me, I don't have no clothes. So I didn't embarrass them. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a way to do it. But then what I'm noticing since I stopped teaching middle school and teaching a certain demographic, they do not respond because let me tell you something. They tell you I don't have to do what you say. They, they don't listen. This is in my 30 years. They don't listen. They tell you I don't have to listen to you. You're not my mother. And I know y'all can test that. There used to be a time you could speak to kids and say, listen, da 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 da. Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But what I noticed in the past 10 years
That's
is
gone.
low, and it's getting worse. So I'm not saying that for the most part, most of us, we grew up and we were groomed to be ladies. But there's a certain demographic of women who are loud in the Walmart. They act in all kind of way in public. You can't say anything to them, or they that vitriol towards you. That's all I'm saying.
Let me kind of rebuttal on to that. I think it's one of those, if you don't know any better, you won't do any better. We have to go back to understand that you got a lot of young people having kids that are kids themselves. So how do you teach someone something that you don't even know yourself? So you're right. It's not any people teaching people or grooming. It used to be etiquette classes. It used to be health classes. It used to be home ec classes to teach you how to be different things in society. So if you don't have that, then how am I supposed to know how to carry myself? I think, like you were saying, we're all old enough and at that point where we were raised to say you don't walk out the house with these type of clothes on. You don't walk out the house with your butt showing. You don't go to church with this type of things on. We were raised like that because that's what we were taught and what was given to us. But I don't see that being reciprocated now in society or with people. No one's trying to teach anybody these things that should make them better, to not be loud in Walmart, to not act like this. No one said, hey, this is not how you conduct a disagreement. No one knows how to fight fair or the correct way for me to, and that I watch. I'm a teacher as well. I taught middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and you're right, they're very you dang near have to fight these kids. And they're big as you are. You're right, you're not my mama. But at the same time, these kids were the biggest babies and would cry, turn around and cry on your shoulder because there was no one at home. There was no one that loved them. And the most love that they got was from them teachers that came there every day that fussed at them. So kids are crying out for certain things that I see as being a teacher, but they're not getting them. They're not getting that. And I think this is because the lack of resources that we have as Black people. And again, I think it, like Lisa said, it starts with therapy. It starts with recognizing and talking and speaking about all of these things to address something to fix. We're so scared to talk and say, I got the same problem. I'm going through the same thing. A lot of us are going through the same thing and have been through the same thing, but we're carrying ourselves as if we're better than the next person when we're actually the same person in silence, to me.
So how do you correct those types?
Miss May, let Kim
Sorry.
get on, then we come back.
I'm sorry, Kendall. I'm sorry.
To answer your question, when you said, so can Black women be corrected? There's two things for me. One, why do you feel like you always need to correct Black women? That's number one. And number two, again, I think, when it comes to the things like what we're talking about, like what Felicia Rashad said, I'm sure I've heard the other young lady. Probably, I would have to go back and check some of her messages. Why is there a need to always correct Black women? Because that goes back to that policing of Black women. That's number one. Number two, yes, we should be able to publicly, and when I say we, men too, correct Black women, but I'm still going to say there's a way to correct Black women. And that is not what we're seeing. We're not seeing correction coming from love from Black men. We're seeing degradation. We're seeing disrespect. We're seeing to me, sometimes our Black brothers are more dangerous than white men. I see it in my comments when they come in my comments talking about the experiences of mothers, the vile things that I have seen from my Black brothers who don't know me. And I'm a great mother. I'm never going to let anyone challenge me on that. But the things that they immediately say, it's never any, well, sis, did you do this? Or how did you do this? It's an automatic attack on Black women. And that's the problem. And like I said, correction, yes. But then I also have to speak to Mrs. Met's comment as well, as far as the disrespect. This younger generation, you can't correct them. You can't correct them. And I'm not going to say it's all coming from home. I am going to say that they are a generation that lacks any empathy, grace, respect. I see it all the time, especially on the platform in which I manage, talking about moms. And I'm a male, again, you and I had a very good conversation on both sides of motherhood. I agree with things that you said. We had some conversations around that. My platform is not to speak up for mothers who are right all the time, because I know that nobody is, mother, child, no one. However, even I can tell the generations that come in my comments, if they're millennials, it's what about me, what about me, what about me? That age group that's below millennials, it's attacks and disrespect immediately. And then when I challenge them logically, then they have gone to the point where they have threatened me. Yeah. Because their emotional maturity is lacking. And they don't know how to have conversations. I'm sure Lisa has great conversation, but I'm sure there's walls that Lisa has to break through to get to those conversations before, to break down that combativeness, right? And we're happy to have a dialogue, but I also think even with them, there's a way to have a dialogue. I would never walk up to someone and say a certain thing, because I know that's going to automatically put them on the defense. But I see it all the time. So I think all of us are saying very similar things, and there is a problem. But yes, we should be able to be publicly corrected. But again, why are y'all always trying to correct Black women?
I would like to know why.
Because they can't correct their mother.
Is that my question?
Yes, for the man.
For the man on the line.
Well, the thing is, for me, it's come from a place of love, most definitely. And of course, the first Black woman I was introduced to was my mother, who inhibits a ton of the things I discuss. However, because I was able to see that through her and have healing with that relationship with her, I see that same brokenness from her, from child molestation that she went through, lack of parenting that she went through, that she was acting out. Everything she did was acting out. So when I see a woman doing that same thing, I approach them in the same manner I approach my mother. Because at times, I don't know if anyone has this experience, you have to parent your parent.
Mm-hmm.
So there was times where me and her would have discussions. I'm counseling her through her issues. So because of that, and I believe in shame. I believe in shame. I believe in public shame, not just for Black women, for anyone. I believe that works. I remember a time where wearing wigs was an embarrassing thing. I don't know about y'all. I remember a time when wearing wigs
you're right.
was an embarrassing thing.
You're right. We generation X. Only people where we were.
What was embarrassing?
Wearing wigs. Like, that was an embarrassing thing. And it shifted to the point where it used to say, well, that ain't your hair. Well, it's my hair. I paid for it. But now it's my hair. And I'm only saying that because we have this thing where we change negatives into positives, to the point we regurgitate things so often that now becomes a reality. Now it becomes who we are. And now you ain't wrong for doing that thing. Whoever says something about you doing that thing is wrong. So I believe, in my view, black women has monopolized criticism. And there's nobody in my view, y'all get mad, I love y'all, all four of y'all, I love all four of y'all. There's no one who is more opinionated than black women
That's true.
about about other things, but yet will tell you that no one can say anything about them. So
That's
that
true.
to me, it's not fair. It's not fair, and I think the things that not only black women do, but we all do things that are public. One of the worst things that ever happened to our society is this thing here on the back, the camera. So we all are doing things publicly, and everyone is getting their shame. But you can't tell me that black women should be excluded.
Shame is not helpful though. Shame, if the goal is love and the goal is accountability, shame makes accountability harder, not easier. Shame shuts down your nervous system. Shame reinforces systems of oppression. It disconnects you from your true self. So if the goal is really love, I mean, how is shame? Shame
is
is
not equated. It's not equal.
Let me use an
If it's about correcting us in a right way, why do you need to shame us or embarrass us? Because
that's about control.
That's about misogyny and about control. Because like I just don't understand that. And then again, why is the correction always towards black women? Why are we being policed? You know what I'm saying? Like I agree.
Everybody gets it. Everyone gets it.
Who gets it?
I think there's a way that it can be done. Like Lisa said, I'm not going to try to shame someone into changing. I'm not going to shame someone because they wear lace front wigs. Do I like them? Absolutely not. But that's my opinion. That I don't have a right to tell someone not to wear their lace front wig. You know what I'm saying? Just because I don't think it's appealing.
So the reason I think that to answer your question about why black women need to correct it is because we are the ones out here showing our asses.
Not all of us. I don't show my.
Oh, let me finish. Let me finish making my point, please.
Well, baby, you have made several points, and we have sat here and listened to you.
I'm answering your question. You asked, why do black women need to be corrected? Okay, but society sees, when we go out and we see how these people see us.
White people?
I'm not saying white people. Okay.
Well, who you were when you say?
Let me finish making my point.
I want you to, but I want you to be clear about who is these people.
I'm going to make my point.
I just want to know who these people are.
We're doing well, ladies. We're doing well. Let's just
finish making my point.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not taking away from your point. I was just trying to figure out who these people are.
Can I get to it though? I'm gonna walk you to it. Walk you to it. We go out in public and we interact with people of all cultures. I'm not talking about no white people. You got white people outside, Asian people, you got all other people outside in the real world. Okay. I already discussed how we go out, how our sisters go outside and show their ass. Now, I've already spoken to, it's a certain demographic of women. Not talking about all of us. We interact with these people. We interact with each other, and there's a certain demographic of these people. And they put a bad taste, a bad representation on us. And then I say this, we are left to disprove that all of us are not like this. We go out in public. When we go out in public, we have to prove. Sometimes I find myself having to overextend myself. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. So we're not going to act like black women don't go out here sometimes showing their ass in public. And when I say that, loud, disrespectful, cussing, bad, you want customer service, but you're speaking to people that you want to help you with disrespect.
But that's black women.
Okay, but we are the ones doing that. You can't get upset that it's highlighted because it's
highlighted because we're black, but it's not just us doing that.
And it's also not our responsibility. Like, it's not our responsibility. We have to put that down. It is not my responsibility to carry my whole race. If one of us does something, it is the whole race that is policed. We have to change that. You can't tell me it's my responsibility as doing what I do. If somebody down the street in Houston does something, now I'm the one responsible for what that person does. No, we are individuals, but we don't allow
we're not.
we are individuals. We are individuals. We are the only ones. We are you wanted to make your point, Ms. Met. We are the only ones who are given that charge to carry our entire race. We are individual people. Yes, we work in community with each other, but we are individual people, and we cannot continue to carry the burden of the entire race. That's one of the very things that makes us angry. That's one of the very things that keeps this trope alive, that we feel like we have to carry so much of everybody else's burden. It is not our burden to carry the entire race. If somebody can't see, they're not going to see us. How many years we've been in this country? They are not going to see you as better because one or worse. That is just how it is seen. Unless we change our own narrative for our own selves and start to define ourselves for ourselves, we're going to continue to find ourselves having this same.
That's not how society sees us.
Correct.
It doesn't. It's not about how society sees us. Society will see us. It's how we see ourselves. No. And as long as we keep seeing ourselves in a certain way, and we keep playing up to what somebody else has defined for us, we can't even meet those expectations. There's no way for us to do it. I cannot carry the burden of everything every Black woman does. I can't do it. I won't do it.
It's not.
And if we continue to try, then we're not helping ourselves.
It's not.
This entire conversation has been. I'm saying this in love as well. Has been when we speak on the positives of what us as Black women do and are. It's us. But when it's a negative, it's those individuals. So what are we showing? Like, what are we really trying to produce? I'm not, by all means, every time I make a video, I'm not putting all women in a box. I don't say all. I say Black women, and I'm speaking in general, but it may not be the majority for that specific instance. And when I say shame earlier, I was simply talking about calling out the negative behavior for what it is, and that's it. But every video I do, well, at least majority, I try to end with a positive note and how I'm praying for that person and what could possibly happen if they turn to the other side. But the shame is not necessarily for that person. It's for anybody else that's watching. Because regardless if we want to look at it or not, or admit it or not, majority of us operate in a mob mentality. So if we see the majority of people calling something out, then they will not want to participate in that, whatever that is. But what happens is the mob mentality is on the opposite. I start to get attacked for calling something that we all agree is negative, but they just don't agree on my right to say it. So I get caught. So
that's
because
unfair. I don't think I do. I see your point, and it is unfair. I think anyone should be able to speak to it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're making a mockery of it, I think that's why it may not be received in the right way.
Okay. Well,
that's my perspective. But no, I don't think it should be isolated to only a woman can speak about Black women. Only Black women should speak about Black women. But, or, Black men can't. I just think that if you're trying to make a mockery or, like you said, bring shame in whatever your perspective or your reasoning is, I think that's where the problem lies. You know what I'm saying? I think when you make a mockery of it, are all Black women doing things that are not embarrassing? Absolutely not. I talk about it quite often. Do I know myself as an individual, and like Lisa said, I'm not responsible for someone being in a restaurant twerking. Do I think it's appropriate? Absolutely not. That's not the time or the place. If it is a restaurant and it's not a club, is it my place to go and correct her? That's where I don't feel like that's my place to do so. Will I frown upon it? Absolutely. But am I going to take ownership of it? Absolutely not, because I'm sitting at my table sipping my wine and she's twerking. So that's not me. That has nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? But I also do see how we are lumped into one thing. But why don't we lump all white people as racist? We're seeing this around our country, and it seems to be far more reaching than the good people. We can't even see the good people because the racism is overshadowing it. But do we lump all of them in one basket?
We kind of do. We kind of do. We kind of do. I
Got the,
mean, we don't. I don't think we have. Go ahead, Miss Matt. We're gonna final thoughts on this, and we're gonna move forward, Miss Matt.
the point I'm making is until we acknowledge some truth about ourselves in regards to there are some things about us, a lot of our women that's dysfunctional. And I think some of our women, the dots don't connect. Like I use, for example, Krishan, Blueface baby mama. There's a disconnect of being able to arrested development. And I think a lot of our young women suffer from arrested development because of the trauma that they are experiencing from children. Some of them stuck at 12. They may be 30, but they stuck at 12. So you're not talking to somebody that's 30, you're talking to somebody that's 12. And this is not exclusive to Black women. This is exclusive to young Black boys are suffering from this. She was talking about how the young men come in her comments. That's a result of trauma, whatever experience they have in their childhood. Because only children respond like that. They respond personal attacks, disrespect. Adults don't respond like that. So until Black women acknowledge that first of all, we are not perfect. We're not perfect. We are flawed. Where there's some dysfunction. Until we acknowledge that we are seen as a group. We're seen as a group. The world doesn't see us even internationally. I notice the disrespect internationally. They don't respect us. And it's because of, when I say there's no individuals, first thing people notice about me is my skin color. That's the first thing they notice. So until we acknowledge that we are seen as a group of people, that there are positives and negatives, and that there's some things that we need to work on as a group of people, this conversation, Black women cannot be corrected.
I just came back from Kenya. They do not see us as Black people.
Did I say Kenya? You go to the Middle East.
I'm sorry. Wait.
Go to the Middle East.
You just made your point, Miss Matt. I'm not trying to trample on what you're saying.
Go to the Middle East and over there and be disrespectful.
I'm not saying that.
Please.
I'm not saying that at all. What I'm speaking to is the burden that we have to carry to be responsible for our whole race. And what I can say is that in other countries, they see us as Americans. We have to we tell them that our experience is different than other Americans, but they don't see us as
they are Black niggas just like everybody, like the white folks do.
Okay.
Right.
But the other part I want to say is that some of what we discussed are the tools to what this correction of Black women and this checking Black women is just these are tools of control, and they're tools of I think Audre Lorde said that the master's house, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. We only using the same things that were given to us from slavery. Like, that's not even where our history began, but as our history in this country began, if you're not looking at the roots of the things and where it comes from, and you're only looking at the result of it, of course you're going to have these things happen and people act a certain way, but never looking at the root of it that's not going to serve us.
And the narrative that's being pushed.
Yeah.
The narrative that's being pushed by social media. Why don't you see the professional women like ourselves? Why don't you see very little of it? I don't care what your algorithm is. Why don't we see the Black women that are traveling and enjoying their lives? You see very little of that, but you're going to see the ignorance, because that's also what they are pushing. That's the agenda, to push that collectively. So I just think, this conversation cannot be unpacked in 1 hour. You know what I'm saying? This is a deeper conversation. This is a panel conversation retreat, 3 days person. Black men, Black women get in the room and have these conversations, and have them in a respectful way, and not only in a way to listen and not just to be defensive. And that's on both sides.
And to understand.
There's so much There's such a lack of understanding collectively, generationally, demographically, all of that. No one is listening to anyone anymore. We're all listening to social media, and they are paid to push a certain agenda. And I don't think people are really recognizing that. The same way with Christianity, that is a colonial thing that has been pushed to control Black people. But y'all don't want to have that conversation.
Ooh, you're gonna get in trouble, Miss.
Christianity is not.
And I will stand on it.
Start some stuff at the end of the thing.
The original Bible was written in Ethiopian, but see, you need to do your history about that.
Regardless,
All
the
right.
Bible that we read is colonial.
That's a lie y'all feed people.
Well, that's your opinion.
Well,
No, it is your opinion. But we're not here to debate this.
Yeah, but see, we're not here to debate. But I made a point.
See, you want to be combative, and that's not what I'm here for.
Combative at all. But I find it offensive because you would never say anything about anybody Islamic faith. You would never say anything about anybody.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
You would never say anything about any Jewish faith.
Listen, I'm not about to debate
with that. You would never do that.
I'm not about to debate religion. I said what I said, and that's what I mean.
All right. And I love y'all to death.
I brought it up.
Hold on, Gen X. Look at y'all. We made it this whole time. All right.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mel. Thank you for joining my channel. Thank you for checking things out here. Oftentimes, we go on people's pages and are like, man, what is going on here? What is the purpose of this channel? So let me be clear. The purpose of this channel is to speak truth regarding the nuclear family. And when I say truth, I'm not saying my truth, not your truth, but the Lord's truth. All about the word, all about the ways and the will of God. What does he have to say about the nuclear family? And I believe the generations of today, whether it be Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever the case may be, I believe now we have a very toxic relationship regarding marriage, regarding family, regarding having children. We're in a toxic dynamic as we speak. And honestly speaking, a lot of the answers that we're looking for in our community, a lot of the cures and a lot of the answers would come from a proper, fulfilled family home. If you go down the line of everyone's individual trauma, there you will find some negligence or some type of issue that they had with their parents. So here on this channel, we address those things head on. We don't place fear in those issues and avoid the topic. We do what Jesus did. And when he said, don't assume that I came for peace, but I came with a sword. I came to turn family members against family members if it means you following me. If you have to cut them off, if you have to address them and have arguments for you to follow me, so be it. And I think at this point in our society, we're at the so be it stage. So here at Life Coaching by Mel, I'm all about bringing healing to that. And the number one way to do that is have honest conversations. So if that's something you like, that's something you're into, that's something you really want to be a part of, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to comment. Let me know what you think about everything. I do my best to respond as often as I can. I want to hear from you guys. This is not about me. It's about healing our nation, healing our states, healing our cities, healing our community, healing our homes. Love you guys. Take care.
Let's go.